Hey guys, tonight we're headed somewhere raw and dusty, where the prairie still keeps secrets under its sunburnt skin, and a man's conscience might just get him killed. You're alone, as usual, chopping firewood behind your cabin. The air's crisp with that Texas kind of October, dry, quiet, just shy of tense, like the land itself is holding its breath. Then it breaks. Pop, pop, pop. Gunshots echo from Devil's Canyon, about 2 miles north. Sharp, deliberate. 3 quick bursts, silence, then 2 more. Not hunting. That ain't the rhythm of a deer going down. That's trouble, and it's galloping straight for your fence line. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop your city and local time in the comments too. I love seeing where you all tune in from. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. And let's ease into tonight's journey together. You drop the axe. The smell of cedar still clings to your gloves, but you don't have time to admire your handiwork. Hoofbeats in the distance. Irregular, frantic, like a horse being pushed to its limit. You've heard that rhythm before. That's the sound of someone running for their life, losing ground. Then you see him, emerging from the canyon haze, low in the saddle, hair flying, blood-soaked shirt clinging to a frame that's barely holding together. That's no outlaw. That's Swift Eagle, the 19-year-old son of Running Wolf, one of the Comanche's most respected warriors. The boy's been to your ranch before, curious, respectful, even asked about crop rotation once. But today he's not curious, he's dying. His horse collapses 10 feet from your fence line, breath sawing through its ribs like a saw blade. Swift Eagle tumbles off, tries to stand, and fails. You sprint to him and he meets you with a blade. Shaky hands, wild eyes, instincts kicking in before reason. Easy, son. You say, hands up. I'm going to help you. He recognizes you, just barely. Through blood-crusted lashes he rasps, soldiers. They come. You must not help me. And that's when you hear it. More hoofbeats, clearer now, maybe 5 minutes away. Accompanied by the sharp jingle of bridles. The holler of men giving orders. Cavalry. Your stomach knots. According to that treaty you helped broker, your ranch is neutral ground. Neither white men nor Comanche are allowed to draw blood here. But today's about to test all that. You lift Swift Eagle into your arms. He's lighter than you remember. Blood soaks through your shirt. There's one in his shoulder, one in the thigh, both still bleeding. You run toward the cabin. A mainstream historical fact? Texas cavalry patrols in the 1870s often traveled in groups of 8 to 12, tasked with enforcing order, a term that rarely meant the same thing to settlers and tribes. You barely make it through your front door before they arrive. 10 blue-coated riders spill into your yard, their horses pawing up dust like a curtain dropped between worlds. You crouch behind the curtain, watching. Leading them is a man you've never seen, Lieutenant Marcus Steele. Tall, pale-eyed. The kind of man who looks like he's seen too many skirmishes and enjoyed each one more than he should have. He knocks sharp and sure. Open up, Lieutenant Steele. United States Cavalry. You wipe your hands on your pants. Doesn't help. The blood's still there. Still red. You open the door, and those pale eyes take you in. Afternoon, he says flatly. We're pursuing a Comanche warrior who killed 2 of my men this morning. Witnesses said he came this way. You lie. A little. Heard shots. Maybe an hour ago. Sounded like Devil's Canyon. That's where we lost the trail, he says. One of his men adds, horse tracks lead right to this ranch. Mind if we take a look around? Every nerve in your body screams not to let them in. But if you say no, they'll know. Of course, you say, stepping aside. Just remember this ranch is neutral ground. Chief White Bull signed off on that. Steele doesn't blink. My commanding officer is Colonel Harrison, and he's the one who wants this savage found. And just like that, the temperature in the room drops 10 degrees. Here's a quirky tidbit. Comanche warriors were known to carry hairbrushes woven from horsehair, not for vanity, but to braid symbolic marks into their manes before battle. Back in the present, the soldiers fan out. One heads to your barn. Another eyes your smokehouse. Steele keeps close. He killed them escorting a supply wagon to the reservation. Medicine. Food. For Comanche children. That hits you hard. But something's off. His voice doesn't quite line up with his eyes. You've lied before. You recognize the tremble. That's hard to believe, you mutter. Wouldn't butcher men trying to help them? Steele snaps. Wouldn't steal from his own people's kids? He gestures, his men spread out. And then Morrison finds it. Pouch. Comanche beadwork. The kind White Bull's daughter wore half a year ago. Only this one smeared with dried blood. This belonged to one of the dead soldiers, Morrison says. Letters. A photo of his wife. He took it as a trophy. You ask to see it. And immediately the pattern doesn't match. Wrong tribe. Wrong colors. This isn't from White Bull's people. This beadwork's off. You say carefully. This wasn't made by his tribe. Steele's voice hardens. Are you calling me a liar? You don't get to answer. Someone knocks something over in your kitchen. Then a yell. Lieutenant, I found something. You freeze. It's not Swift Eagle they drag out. It's his bloody shirt. Still fresh. Still wet. Steele smiles, colder than the prairie moon. Well, Mr. Mallister, it seems your neutrality isn't quite as neutral. Outside, a wind picks up. But that's not all it carries. In the distance, low and steady, the sound of war drums. Thump, thump, thump. History still argues whether war drums were purely ceremonial or tactical. Tonight, they're both. They're a heartbeat, a warning, a countdown, and you're standing dead center in the crosshairs. You stand there, arms crossed, heart galloping harder than any horse outside, while Steele's soldiers begin to circle. Their rifles aren't quite aimed at you, but it's a detail, one gust of wind and this dust-covered standoff becomes a funeral. And yet you can't run. Not with Swift Eagle unconscious in your bedroom, wrapped in blankets soaked with his own blood. You don't even know if he's still breathing. You only know what you've already done, chosen to help. Chosen the boy over the badge. And now the badge is about to bite back. Steele's got a smile that doesn't reach his eyes. Search the whole place, he says. And this time, move the furniture. Your mouth is dry. You glance toward the bedroom, but not too long. Can't give anything away. Then Morrison, that poor kid you used to toss a baseball with back in town, clears his throat. Lieutenant, he says real quiet. Maybe we should send word to Colonel Harrison. Before we what, Sergeant? Steele cuts him off, voice sharp enough to slice leather. Morrison doesn't flinch, but he doesn't answer either. Steele doubles down. The only authorization I need is 2 dead soldiers and a trail of blood leading here. You know right then that Steele's not just here to enforce law. He's here to bury something. Maybe a boy. Maybe the truth. Maybe both. Then he turns back to you. Where is he? You meet those icy eyes and realize something terrifying. Even if you tell him, it won't matter. Guilt or innocence isn't the game. It's control. I don't know what you're talking about, you say. Steele nods like he expected that. Sergeant, start with the bedroom. But the war drums beat louder now. And the sound is different, thicker, layered. A second rhythm joins the first. Then a third. It's not just running wolf anymore. 3 different tribes. That hasn't happened in your memory. You'd remember the feel of it. Like the earth's pulse just sped up under your boots. Steele hears it too. His fingers twitch near his sidearm. How many warriors does White Bull command? He asks you. You pretend to think. 300. On a good day. A joke, sure. But not really. And if he's allied with the others? You meet his gaze. Closer to 1,000. One of his men swears. Another quietly checks his bullets. They won't attack soldiers, Steele mutters. They will, you say. If they think you murdered one of their kids. That lands. Steele glances toward the ridge. Then the drums stop. And somehow that silence is worse. It presses in heavy, like the whole prairie's holding its breath. Then you hear it. The real thunder. Hoofbeats. Dozens. Maybe more. Coming fast. From 3 directions. You feel it before you see it. What historians now call coordinated tribal response. Back then, folks had a blunter term, war party. Steel pales. How long do we have? You tilt your head. Listen. 5 minutes. Maybe less. Damn it. He spins, barking orders. Forget the search. Defensive perimeter around the cabin. Morrison. Prep the horses for retreat. But you're already moving. Toward your door. Toward Swift Eagle. Steel grabs your arm. Where do you think you're going? To save all our lives. You shrug him off. Your boots hit the porch. The wind carries dust and fury. You can feel the heat of those horses before they crest the ridge. That war party isn't coming to negotiate, you tell him. They think you killed Swift Eagle. The only way to stop a massacre is to prove them wrong. Steel scoffs. By harboring a murderer? No, you say, turning to face him. By finding out the truth. You step closer, your voice low and sharp. That pouch? The one with the photo and the letters? That's not Comanche work. Not from White Bull's people. You're out here with 10 men chasing a so-called savage and skipping any real trial. That's not justice. That's cleanup. Steel doesn't reply, but you see it in his eyes. The shift, the sliver of doubt. Behind you, the sound of the war cries gets sharper. Individual voices, individual riders. You know this is it. Then Morrison appears beside Steel. Lieutenant, they're coming from 3 sides, trying to box us in. You nod. This isn't a rescue. It's a maneuver. A military one. If historians still argue whether Comanche strategy matched formal military doctrine, they've never stood in your boots during this moment. You don't need a textbook to feel the precision. Steel's facade finally cracks. There's something you're not telling me. What really happened this morning? He hesitates. His jaw works like he's chewing stones. Then he breaks. We weren't escorting a supply wagon, he says. We were escorting a surveyor. The air leaves your lungs. A government surveyor. Sent to mark land. Probably reservation boundaries. Probably more. The Comanche weren't supposed to know, he mutters. But Swift Eagle had known. He'd stumbled across them, marking trees near sacred ground. Tried to stop them. Got shot. The surveyor panicked, Steel admits. Started shooting. Swift Eagle fought back. Killed the surveyor and one of my men. It wasn't supposed to happen like that. Of course it wasn't. You lean against the porch post, blood hammering in your ears. So the kid wasn't a murderer. He was a witness. And your ranch is now the center of a conspiracy big enough to bury half the territory. What would you do? Turn the kid in and let these men bury their secrets? Or stand here, sweaty, scared, and wildly outgunned, and hold the line? The ridge crests. The warriors appear. 30 of them, full regalia. At the front. Running Wolf, face streaked in black war paint, eyes blazing. Behind them, another group. Then dust clouds from the south. The third flank. Too late for words. Steel raises his rifle. But you step forward. Arms up. Palms out. Universal signal for, please don't skewer me. Your boots crunch the dry grass. Running Wolf stops his stallion 50 yards out. His horse snorts like it knows what's coming. He shouts something in Comanche. You don't know the words, but you know the meaning. Where is my son? You take 3 slow steps forward. Running Wolf, you call. Your son is alive. Behind you, Steel hisses. You fool. You just signed our death warrants. But you don't flinch. Swift Eagle is wounded, you say. But he's breathing. He's inside. On my bed. Running Wolf dismounts. Begins to walk. And every step he takes is a coin flipped in the air. Peace or war, you don't know which side it'll land. Running Wolf walks toward you with the controlled fury of a man who's danced with grief before but still doesn't know the steps. His tomahawk is in his right hand, not raised, not lowered, just there like an idea waiting to become action. Behind you, the soldiers shift. You don't need to turn to hear them cocking their rifles. Steel whispers something, probably in order to shoot if the chief so much as sneezes the wrong way. You hold up your hand behind your back. Flat palm. A silent plea for everyone to just breathe. Running Wolf stops within arm's reach. His breath steams faint in the cool air. You can see every line in his face, Every fight he's ever survived. His eyes drill into yours. Soldiers say, he says, voice thick with accent but clear enough, he killed their brothers. That he stole from children. You don't look away.
Sie soll dir slieht.
That sentence hangs there like a rattlesnake between your boots. You've just told the leader of 30 fully armed Comanche warriors that the U.S. Army tried to murder his son. And if he believes you, the next thing to die might be the chain of command. Behind you, Steele can't take it. That's enough, he barks, stepping forward with his rifle drawn, the barrel aimed square at your spine. I won't listen to this savage sympathizer. The tomahawk in Running Wolf's hand cocks back. Just slightly. But it's enough. All around you, weapons are drawn. 30 arrows. 10 rifles. Every man breathing smoke and ready to write history in blood. You throw your arms wide. Stop, you shout. Nobody moves. Nobody shoots. Not until you hear the truth. And then, as if the prairie herself has chosen her moment, a new voice speaks. The truth. Everyone turns. Swift Eagle is standing in your doorway, pale, shirtless, bandages wrapped like makeshift armor across his chest. He leans against the frame like it's the only thing holding him upright, but his eyes are sharp, furious. He speaks in Comanche, fast and urgent. You don't understand, but you can follow the fury. He gestures to the soldiers, then toward the hills. Every word is a match struck in the dry grass of his father's face. Running Wolf translates. He says the soldiers were marking sacred trees, burial ground, for white men to steal. Steele steps back. We were just. He says the white surveyor shot first. Running Wolf cuts in. That my son fought to protect our ancestors' graves. His voice drops to a chilling hush. He says the soldiers want him dead to keep their crimes hidden. Clicks. Everything. The lies. The fake pouch. The convenient chase. This wasn't about justice, it was a cleanup job, tied with a neat blue ribbon. You turn to Steele. Is that true? He doesn't answer, which is, in fact, an answer. Running Wolf raises his tomahawk. Lets out a cry that rips through the yard like thunder tearing sky. The others join him. Arrows lift. Steele's men tighten formation. One flinches. You know what's next. This is it. And then your mouth moves before your brain fully catches up. Running Wolf, you shout. By the law of your own people, you cannot spill blood on neutral ground. His hand freezes mid-swing. All eyes shift to you. Your brain's scrambling. You're running on half memory and a hunch from a conversation with White Bull 6 months back. This ranch, you say slowly, voice shaking but steadying, was declared neutral by Chief White Bull. No blood may be spilled here, not without his permission. To break that law would bring dishonor. Running Wolf hesitates. You can see the war in his eyes now, not between tribes and soldiers, but between grief and tradition. Swift Eagle coughs, steps forward. Father, he croaks. He saved me, knowing it would cost him his life. Running Wolf's head snaps toward his son. When I told him you'd have to kill him for breaking sacred law, he helped anyway. The boy stands a little taller, even though he's shaking. That is what a true warrior does. For a heartbeat, no one moves. You hear the wind. A horse snorts. Someone mutters a prayer in a language you don't recognize. And then Steele, master of bad timing, picks his moment. While everyone's watching father and son, he raises his rifle, aims at Swift Eagle. But Morrison sees it, and without a second thought, he tackles his commanding officer into the dirt. A cloud of dust rises. Morrison pins him. Sir, you're under arrest for treason, conspiracy, and conduct unbecoming of an officer. The soldiers freeze, then look at each other, and none move to help Steele. A fun historical fact. More than a dozen frontier officers were court-martialed in the 1870s for corruption tied to land speculation. Many with links to illegal surveys like this one. You stare at Morrison. How long's this been going on? He doesn't look up. Since spring. Steele's been escorting surveyors into protected lands. Taking money. Lying to the families of men who got caught. Told them it was Apache raids. You feel your stomach churn. This wasn't just theft. This was desecration. Running Wolf hears every word. He doesn't need translation. His face goes stone cold. Then Swift Eagle says something else. Quiet, but you hear it. His father nods, jaw tight. He says, Running Wolf translates. They've been marking our sacred places for months, cutting symbols into grave trees. You look at Morrison. At least a dozen sites, he says. Maybe more. The goal was to catalog valuable land so treaties could be renegotiated. Renegotiated. That's rich. And there's something else, Morrison adds, almost whispering. The surveyor who died today? He wasn't just mapping. You brace yourself. He was looking for gold. It lands like a hammer in the dust. Steele doesn't deny it, because he can't. Running Wolf's voice is ice. Then it is not just these men who must face justice. It is everyone who sent them. You realize what he means. This won't end here. Not in your yard. Not with Steele. This is war. Real war. And you're standing in the middle of it with nothing but your spine and your truth. But then Swift Eagle speaks again. Loud. In English. Father, he says. This man saved me. When I told him helping me meant his death, he helped anyway. That is the action of a true warrior. Running Wolf looks at you. Sees not a settler. Not an enemy. Just a man trying to do right. Then the chief says softly, the law is clear. Any white man who helps a Comanche avoid justice must face punishment. But I wasn't facing tribal justice, Swift Eagle replies. I was facing white man's injustice. That lands heavier than any tomahawk. The boy stands straight, despite everything. By our laws, he says, Bear is not guilty. He is honorable. Steele sees his opening vanish. He lunges for his fallen rifle. But Running Wolf's tomahawk spins through the air, silent and deadly, and sinks deep into Steele's shoulder, dropping him with a howl. The yard goes still. Running Wolf retrieves his weapon calmly. Now he faces trial by combat, he says, whether he wants to or not. The war party closes in, but now it's not fury that rides with them. It's judgment. You stand there, hands still raised, watching 30 Comanche warriors form a loose ring around your yard. Their horses snort and stamp, sensing the tension like it's a snake in the grass. Some of them lean forward in their saddles, eyes fixed on Steele's writhing form. Others look to Running Wolf, waiting for his signal. But the signal doesn't come, not yet. Instead, he turns to you. He must face justice, Running Wolf says. But your laws or ours? You glance down at Steele, groaning in the dust, his hand clutched over the tomahawk wound. The same man who nearly got your ranch turned into a graveyard is now your responsibility. And suddenly you see it, the third option. A bridge. Let him choose, you say. Running Wolf's eyes narrow. You explain, trial by combat your way, or trial by jury ours. But let him decide. In front of both our peoples. It's a gamble, but a good one. Morrison nods in agreement. It's fair, and it keeps the peace. Steele, bleeding and cornered, mutters something you'd probably need holy water to repeat. But no one moves to help him. His soldiers aren't soldiers anymore. They're men in borrowed uniforms realizing they've been pawns on a board they never agreed to. Then something shifts. Swift Eagle steps forward. Still pale, still bandaged, but standing on his own. He speaks to his father in Comanche, voice hoarse but certain. Running Wolf translates. My son says, this man tried to kill him again, even when he was wounded. That makes it his right to stand against him. Trial by combat it is. Here's your quirky tidbit for the night. Comanche warriors often used carved talismans tied into their braids during battle. Symbols of loved ones, victories, or spirit animals. Swift Eagle's braid has one of those. You can see it glint in the firelight as the tribe prepares the ground. The circle tightens. They clear space, draw markings in the dust, rituals older than the fences and rifles that surround them. A man's final stand isn't about witnesses. It's about honor. Steele, despite the blood loss, stands, pale but proud, maybe too proud. Running Wolf chooses his son's second cousin as champion. A quiet man with a jagged scar under one eye and the calm of someone who's never lost a fight. Steele gulps. The fight begins. If you've ever seen two mountain lions go at it, it's still not quite this. Steele comes in strong, wounded or not, the man's got brute force. He swings wildly, snarling like an animal that knows it's cornered. His opponent dodges with practiced grace, never wasting energy. You get the sense he's more wind than man, always where Steele isn't. Within minutes, it's over. Steele lies in the dust, face to the sky, chest barely rising. The Comanche warrior backs away, breathing steady. No gloating, just justice served cold. Steele's not dead, yet, but he's done. Running Wolf doesn't order a finishing blow. Instead, he turns to his men, speaks in low tones. Some dismount. Others start gathering the evidence, the real weapons in this war. The leather pouch. Steele said it held a soldier's letters. But when they empty it out, it's nothing of the sort. Dozens of small metal tags fall into the dirt. Survey markers, government codes, GPS coordinates etched in brass. And one folded map, blood-stained and scrawled with arrows, cutting right through treaty land. Steele wasn't protecting a mistake. He was coordinating an operation. This, Running Wolf says, holding up the pouch, is proof. Every sacred site they planned to violate. Every line they meant to erase. And now you understand. This isn't about just Steele, or even Colonel Harrison. This is about an entire system, greased with blood and gold, that's trying to erase a people with dotted lines and polite lies. Morrison picks up one of the tags. Every one of these markers matches what's in our maps, he says grimly. They were redrawing the territory, planning to present it as a misunderstanding once it was done. Historians still argue whether these land grabs were rogue actions or sanctioned plans. You say out loud to no one in particular. But here, in this dirt, it feels sanctioned. Every crooked inch of it. Swift Eagle leans against a rail post, watching it all. You catch his eye. He nods once, solemn. Not grateful. Not forgiving. Just acknowledging. Then Morrison steps forward. I'll deliver the report, he says. I'll take this to Colonel Harrison. Tell him what happened. All of it. Running Wolf doesn't interrupt. He doesn't need to. His silence is permission. But before Morrison mounts up, you stop him. Tell him the Comanche have the evidence, you say. And they're not going to stay quiet. He nods. But I can't promise he'll listen, he adds. There's a lot of money tied up in this land. Then tell him the alternative. You reply, voice soft but sharp. Tell him what happens if they don't. Morrison rides off. The others follow. You're left alone with the tribe, and the echo of choices too big for one man's shoulders. Then Running Wolf turns to you. You have done something today, he says slowly. That will be remembered. You want to brush it off, make a joke. But nothing comes, because you know he's right. You chose truth over safety, he says. Justice over profit. I just did what was right, you answer. That, he says, is why you must do more. You already know what's coming. The burden behind the compliment. We need you, he continues, to ride to the capital, speak to the governor, show them this. He gestures to the metal tags, the map, the truth. You look around, at the warriors, at Swift Eagle, at the blood on your porch. And somehow it doesn't feel like a question. It feels like destiny. You don't sleep that night. You sit by the lantern with those survey markers spread across your table like bones from a murdered past. Each one etched with a government code. Each one a promise broken. A prayer trampled into treaty land. You run your fingers over the cold metal, feel the grooves, the certainty of their purpose. Lines were meant to be drawn, and you were never supposed to see them. Outside, the campfires flicker low. Comanche warriors settle in, but no one truly rests. Even the horses shift uneasily. Somewhere in the shadows, Swift Eagle coughs. And you remember he's just a kid, 19. Could have been reading books or falling in love. Instead, he got a bullet in the leg for standing too close to the truth. You step outside. The prairie sky's wide open, stars like a shattered window. You breathe in that chill night air and tell yourself, you've already made the hard choice. Everything else is just follow through. But that's the problem with follow through, it tends to demand more than you think you've got. By dawn, you're saddled up. The Comanche have packed the markers, the map, and Swift Eagle's bloody shirt into a bundle and handed it to you with ceremony and weight. Running Wolf approaches, his face unreadable. You are not just a rancher now, he says. You are witness. And witnesses in history have never had it easy. You ask how to find the governor. Running Wolf points southeast. You'll be watched. Even in the city. Speak only when you must. Show only what they can't deny. A bit of practical cowboy advice here. When a tribal leader tells you to stay quiet in a city full of politicians, you listen. And then you ride. Takes 3 days to reach Austin. Dust clings to you like guilt. Along the way, you sleep under cottonwoods, dodge patrols, and hear whispers. About you. About that rancher. Word travels fast when truth's a fugitive. You arrive at the capital with nothing but a horse, a sweat-stained shirt, and a pouch of secrets that could topple a system. The guards don't want to let you in at first. Then they see the pouch, the map, the brass markers, the evidence. You're ushered into a long hallway that smells like cigar smoke and denial. The governor is younger than you expect. Soft hands, soft voice, but hard eyes. The kind that size you up like cattle, not people. You lay everything out on his desk. Don't say a word. Just let the metal do the talking. To his credit, he listens. He reads the coordinates, cross-checks them with treaty maps, frowns so hard his mustache almost falls off. And then, for a brief moment, you see it, that flicker of panic that only comes when someone realizes they're standing knee-deep in a cover-up with their name on the letterhead. This is serious, he says, trying to sound surprised. If this is real. It is, you say, interrupting. I was there. I buried the blood with my own hands. He leans back. Then we'll investigate. Quietly. You lean forward. No. Loudly. Silence stretches between you like barbed wire. Then he nods. Not because he agrees. Because he knows he has no choice. What follows is the biggest governmental cleanup in Texas since they outlawed gambling dens and blamed it on the weather. 17 officials get investigated. 9 are removed. The surveying operation gets shut down so fast it might as well have never existed. Historians still argue whether the governor acted out of moral duty or political survival. But the outcome? That part's clear. New treaties are signed, this time with actual enforcement. Sacred grounds are designated as protected zones. And for once, paper actually means something. Swift Eagle recovers fully. His limp fades within weeks, though the scars stay. He becomes something rare, a bridge between worlds. Translator, negotiator, not just for his people but for yours too. You go back to the ranch, or what's left of it. Your porch has a bloodstain that won't come out. Your bed still smells faintly of crushed yarrow and old bandages. And every now and then, you wake to the echo of drums that aren't playing anymore. But your ranch becomes more than neutral ground. It becomes a meeting place. A space where handshakes matter and stories get exchanged without the need for bullets. Every fall, on the anniversary of that week, someone leaves a single eagle feather on your doorstep. You never see who, but you know what it means. That's not friendship. It's something older, deeper, respect. And one day, when you're old, and your back creaks like a porch swing in the wind, a group of schoolchildren will come through with their teacher. They'll ask why there's a circle of stones behind your barn. And you'll say, that's where truth stood still long enough to be heard. Then you'll smile, and you'll tell them the rest. And if they're lucky, they'll listen. You don't ask for recognition. You don't carve your name into plaques or wait for the state to pin a medal on your vest. You just live quietly, deliberately, like a man who once stood between history and heartbreak and chose to hold his ground. But history has a way of knocking on your door even when you're done answering it. A year after the trial, you're summoned again. This time by a group of elders, both Comanche and settler. They want you to speak at a gathering, to testify. They call it, about that October day when a boy's blood almost started a war. You hesitate. Public speaking ranks somewhere below, stepping on a rattler on your list of favorite activities. But you go. Because it matters. Because you've learned that silence protects more than secrets. It can also protect injustice. You ride into a makeshift tent circle, the same kind the tribes used before wagons and fences carved the prairie into pieces. There's a crowd, larger than you expected. Mixed, native and white, young and old. Some in jeans, some in moccasins. And they're all staring at you like you're the last man alive who remembers something important. Maybe you are. You step up. You clear your throat. You speak. Not in polished speeches or legal terms. Just the truth. The way you told it to the wind, and the horses, and the blood-soaked ground. They listen. And when you're done, it's Swift Eagle who steps forward, holding out that same leather pouch. The one that once held the key to 1,000 broken promises. He places it in your hands. This, he says, is yours now. You don't want it, but you take it. Because sometimes carrying history is the price of surviving it. A few weeks later, you get a letter, an official one. The Texas Historical Commission wants to name your ranch a heritage site. Something about promoting intertribal reconciliation. You decline. Kindly. Instead, you write back, make it sacred, not historic. And they do. They place a stone marker outside your gate. No dates. No names. Just a phrase you suggested. Here stood a man who listened. And over time, that phrase becomes its own kind of legend. A quiet one, but real. Now, some nights, when the wind hits just right and the prairie hums with the memory of hooves and heartbeats, you sit on your porch with a cup of coffee and let your eyes wander toward the ridge. Sometimes you imagine Running Wolf standing there again, proud and grim. Sometimes you hear the faint thump of war drums in the distance. But mostly you hear peace. And in a land where that word once cracked like glass under boots, that's no small thing. So now, the fire's down to embers, and the horses long since settled. That night in Texas, the one with the blood and feathers and choices made with shaking hands. It's faded into legend, sure, but legends, if you listen close, still breathe. You feel the quiet now, don't you? That hush the prairie gives just before dawn, where nothing moves except time itself, and maybe your thoughts. You did well tonight, stood tall, asked hard questions, and chose mercy over muscle. That counts for something even when no one's looking. Let the weight of the story settle into your shoulders, soft now, like a wool blanket. Let those names drift, Bear, Swift Eagle, Running Wolf, like dust across memory. You don't need to hold them tight. Just know they were real and brave and human. Outside your window, or maybe just in your mind. A breeze picks up. You hear it in the grass, that soft rhythm. Not war drums this time. Something gentler, like the land exhaling. You deserve rest now. Because sometimes, being the one who doesn't shoot, who doesn't run, who stands between what is and what must never be again, that's enough. So close your eyes. Let your breath slow. And if in your dreams you find yourself riding that ridge again, just nod to the man beside you. The one who listens. He'll understand. Sweet dreams.